actor, and then founding chairperson at the Esports Research Network. We will present esports as a future lab preparing for the digital working world. Thank you so much for coming to Japan, and floor to yours. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Tsubasa, and thank you for the invite. I will try to make it as short as possible, if I can do that. Yeah, first of all, I mean, I'm talking about esports, and it's always good to be the first one, so I can push my definition of esports to you, and everybody has to follow down. So, yeah, my definition, or the definition I did with a colleague, Nepomuk Nothelfer, is kind of broader than most definitions we see in esports nowadays. And it's all about the idea that there is a human element in it, there is a digital element of video games in there, and it is a structured competition. So for all of you, you do see that nearly every esports or every video game can be an esports in that. Even games like Microsoft Excel. Still the most confusing one, but apparently there is a crowd, there are people watching it, and they are celebrating it. But that's the part where what we are looking in is that people are learning a lot of things in esports. Most of the time, they are not even realizing it. My background is guild leader in World of Warcraft, and I had around 60 people to deal with in a virtual environment, and yeah, it can be quite exhausting, but you learned how to bring them together, how to collaborate, how to adapt, and all of those things. And that's the part why we are looking into esports as the place to develop critical 21st century skills. Because it is, yes, it is a digital phenomenon, but the most important part, it is about people. And the people are the focus in any esports title, where we definitely see where if an AI plays against an AI, that's boring. If a human plays against a human, it can still be boring, but it can be fun as well. And this is where we see a lot of skills happening, a lot of skills emerging. And that is why we are looking into it. And a couple years ago, I did a report for the European Parliament on that topic, on the idea why esports is a future lab for the digital society. And that's where you will not hear me say esports is a sport. My definition, esports is esports. And it is something where definitely we see it touches upon everything in a digital society, be it entertainment. Probably a couple of you watched Arcane. At least a couple, nods. But it is something where it had a strong impact on the entertainment industry, how they did it, how they translated, and we might come into an age where suddenly, video game adaptation are good, at least that one worked, but you also see with a lot of collaborations between K-pop and League of Legends, so a lot of that happens, education, we will hear from Ohio State later on, something on that, how to integrate that as well. But also the business topic, where those are the digital natives. They grew up with technology, and sure, there are pros and cons growing up with that, but it's the idea how they see the world differently. And this is something we need to utilize, and we need to see how innovation can emerge out of it. But also the part where diversity and inclusion, it is connecting people. Sure, I know a lot of issues are, if you go into the internet, a lot of toxicity happens, but if we are able to solve all those issues, we can just translate that into the broader society because the function and the structure is the same. And the same part as well with talking about sport. I mean, we are here at the academia, so we all sit the whole day in front of a PC and we are not walking. And how do we convince people to do that? It's actually easier to tell a player where if you do some walking, if you do some sport, you play better. Tell that to professor. He will, especially he will not understand it. And this is something where we can use, how can we convince people, how can we translate that? And that's why esports is a hybrid teamwork. And just the idea that people are getting together to play in front of 5 PCs next to each other in a virtual environment. Every player knows that they are playing better if they are together, even though they are virtually together. And this is something where the decisions are happening, where the clear communication is happening, and the continuous adaptation, where constantly the game is changing and everything. But also the idea of flexible leadership. If you play League of Legends, if you play Counter-Strike, and you have a leading role in there, you learn how to lead. And you learn how to lead in the way you want to lead. And that is something where I definitely learned a lot about how I want to lead out of those games. And this is something where a lot of competencies are trained. And before the next slide, there are a lot of references on it. You don't need to read everything about that, but just to show you there is research. It is often said that esports is under-researched and esports is a topic where we have to just dive into it, but there is research happening. And the interesting part here is, from your side, the left side is the top 10 skills 2025 from the World Economic Forum, where they are talking about what we need from people. So the topic of analytical thinking, understanding how that works, but also this part of active learning and learning strategies. Now in the time of AI, we have to rethink how we teach and how we learn. Just think about your students. We're like, there is this wonderful tool that can do all of your schoolwork and all of your work automatically. And you will probably pass with it. How do you convince people to not use it before they are learning it, before they are understanding it? And that is something where we see in any video game or esports title, there are tasks that are completely stupid, repetitive, and everything. But it is linked with the idea of I'm leveling up, I'm learning a new skill, I have to do it. I have to kill that gnoll 5,000 times, and it's definitely not fun, but people are doing it. How can we translate that? And the idea as well with critical thinking, thinking outside of the box, thinking in a way that it helps solve problems. And those are the skills and those are the topics where you see a lot of those are needed in this new world, in this new environment. And especially the idea of creativity, originality. Yeah, AI might look like it is innovative, but technically it will only do that what we are putting into it and based on our knowledge. So all of those new novel ideas where you have to have a solution is something where we need humans. And this is something where we see in esports. StarCraft developed for, or there is an AI that can beat nearly everybody. But we are not using it. We are still looking at that Finnish player finally beating a Korean player after decades of dominance from the Koreans. And this is the story about it, because it's this part where this human touch becomes in it. And that's why technology, yeah, given, absolutely, but esports focuses on the people and especially resilience, stress tolerance. If you ever attended a LAN party or saw a LAN party, they are playing 72 hours with nearly no sleep in horrible conditions and still having a blast of a time. And then the internet goes down and then they try to solve it. So a lot of those stories, and this is why it's always fascinating to see how people like Elgato are dealing with all of that, where it never works the way it should work, because something happens and they adapt. And that's the part where we see a lot of those topics become more and more important. And yeah, that is something where as well, it is not a young phenomena. It is definitely not, if you look at people who are sitting there. A couple of you might recognize that. Back there, Tom Brock from Manchester Metropolitan. Jem will definitely recognize him. Brian McCauley and a colleague from Staffordshire, all of them playing Valorant. And yeah, professor, hopefully soon a professor. And it is the fascinating part where, okay, we played against students, they stomped us out of the arena, but we did 2 kills, so still, it was quite fun, and this is something as well where we see this is also bridging generations, bringing people together. Our colleague from UT Austin, Ben Bays, plays with his kid Fortnite, and suddenly, okay, his kid will probably still not say he's cool, but he's at least not uncool. So that is something where we see all of those connecting, and also the part where we see it is a high-pressure digital environment. And this is always the slide where I'm always curious, how many played World of Warcraft? Okay, at least 2 people. But this is the part where 20 players come together for 2 weeks to beat a new arena, a new dungeon. And they stay together, and you see here the seed from the guild leader, the raid leader. He is not playing in the game. He is outside orchestrating, talking with them, having 4 screens with statistics, with all the streams from all the players and everything. That is an old picture. I saw the new one from the last one. He has now 8 monitors. And it's getting more and more. But it's the part where you're sitting outside trying to orchestrate 20 people, and that in a way where you are staying 2 weeks with them. You wake up at 6 and you go to bed around 10, 11. So they are sleeping like 5 hours for 2 weeks, and they are playing the constant time. And this is a high pressure environment where I always see the comparison to if we ever send someone to Mars, probably such a team could survive because they at least are able to survive together. And that is the part which makes it super interesting. And yeah, and that's where esports player master rapid decision making under pressure, and all of those things become more and more relevant. And that is something where this is the quest. That's where my HR background comes in. I see so many talents. They are so amazing in a video game, in an esports title and everything. And sure, they don't have the certificates, the credentials and everything, but you can find such great hidden talents out there, and giving them a chance, they will pay it back triple, quadruple time. And that is something where using esports, we can translate those skills, but also it is the part where a lot of talent development is already happening. Just think about English. Probably half of the gamers learned English through video games. And still, how can we translate that? And that is the part where I give the quest always at the end. Find the hidden talents. Talk with your colleagues, especially the young ones. Ask them what they are playing, and you learn so much about it. And taking that even a step further, if you ever talk with an architect, I don't have valid data on that, but we talked with a colleague in Sydney about it, and he said like 50% of our faculty plays SimCity and City Skyline. And that's where they got the passion out of it. And this is the part where we are moving in that world, and we have to look out for that. And often it's a fascinating story when they are talking about how they win something, how they play something. And that's why looking into esports as a future lab is all about the people and not about the technology, even though it's important, but it is something where we are refocusing on the people, and that is where I do think it's a good link to the next presentation because it's about education, if I remember correctly. And yeah, therefore, yeah, thank you for listening. And if you have questions, I'm here the whole day. And you will find me on the internet for the online people. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tobias. And then, yeah, it's really wonderful presentations. And then, as you say, that's technology is really important. At the same time, human being is also important. So we have to consider that about that. And then let's move on to the next speaker. She is on the online speaker. And then her name is Sayo Okamoto, who is the founder and CEO of the Gaku. And then actually she's in Switzerland in order to discuss, in order to have the meeting with the IOC, International Olympic Committee. So that's why she cannot come here. Just last week, I think last week she sent me the message she cannot be here. So unfortunately, I cannot present to you her because she is doing a lot of things. She is also organizing some of the events in the Nagoya because she is in charge of the Asian Games as well in the esports. So that's why, yeah. So floor to your Sayo, can you hear that? So you can see. Yes. Wait a minute. Wait a second. Not minute. Wait. speak as well in English or Japanese because we have the pocket conference. So yeah. And then let's move on to the final speaker. And the final speaker is the Dr. John Price, and then he's the esports manager at the Ohio State University. And we met each other in the February 2024 because I was in Ohio State University to discuss together. So that's fine, and I really want to invite you here in Japan. I think that it's the first time for you to come here, right? So that's why it's a great honor to have you here. Thank you so much for coming to Japan, and then floor to yours. Thank you.
Good? Okay. Good? Okay. Thank you all for coming. Thank you so much for the invitation, this opportunity. I'm excited to talk to you today about my work in the United States at The Ohio State University. United States, especially at the college level, which for everyone else, it's 18 to 24-year-olds in particular, it is an interesting state compared to some of these other topics that we've talked about so far today. For myself, we work a lot with inside the traditional sports and athletics model in more ways than one at the university level for most programs in the US. And so I want to talk to you a bit about how we're trying to combine some of the existing cultural artifacts that exist in traditional sports culture in the United States and marry them together with esports to try to almost bridge the generational divide between those that, of course, are competing, playing games, but also to touch on those larger traditions that make up a large portion of the United States culture in multiple different ways and such. And to start, I'll talk a bit about some of the challenges we're facing in the collegiate scene and the benefits in the United States, what those rivalries exist currently, and how we're using those rivalries to continue the mission of really normalizing esports as being an accepted activity in the United States, not only from an education element, but from a larger cultural aspect as well. To start, though, just to kind of show you what some of the collegiate competition looks like right now in the United States, I have a brief video. Uh-oh. There it is. Okay. And you'll actually see in the top left area, that is the back of my head. This was at an event we had back in 2024. It was the first time our university, and actually for the other institutions that were part of this, competing in person as part of the Big Ten Conference, which is one of the larger athletic conferences that exists with some of the most prestigious public institutions in the United States. And unfortunately, well, you'll see what happens here in a second. Uh-oh. Let's see if the... Uh-oh. Uh-oh. The video did not seem to play. I'm sorry, I was trying to... Yep. Okay. All right, well, no worries. Hey, technical difficulties, this wouldn't be esports without that. So what you would otherwise see is this at the end of a best of 7 series where it's tied 3-3 between Michigan State University and the Ohio State Buckeyes. The reason I particularly chose this one, not only is it because you would, if I had the clip running, you'd kind of see my soul leave my body as we unfortunately lost the tiebreaker for that match. But it led to me one of a very interesting interaction of where both my parents are Michigan State University alumni. And so I have been on that campus all of my entire life. But for the first time ever, I really wanted to root against a school in which I was I consider myself a part of. So I mentioned Big Ten. One of the Big Ten conference does not actually have esports yet. And so the membership schools, all the different student organizations, but also those of us that are in staff as well as faculty positions, created what's called the Big Esports Conference, essentially to give an opportunity for those students, since the vast majority of those institutions did not yet recognize or have official programs, to give them a chance to come in person and compete. I always like to say the best way to show somebody the value and power and what esports can do is to get them to a physical tournament, a LAN center. So And we've done that through the last 3 years of myself being at Ohio State University by hosting a variety of competitions, by trying to create conferences that encourage interaction and in-person competition in addition to our online factor to really bridge the gap between some of the existing competition that's happening in the United States at that collegiate level. And one of the other events that we were able to put on and be a part of was another conference we've helped found, which is the Power Esports Conference, comprised of other large institutions in the United States, about 8 of them when these pictures were taken, where we got together in Las Vegas at the Luxor Casino and Resort in the HyperX Arena and had 2 days of competition on there. Actually, our team luckily made it all the way to the Valorant Grand Finals and unfortunately lost to Michigan State. We've done a lot of losing to Michigan State, unfortunately, recently. Hopefully, we'll change that in the future. But what really becomes interesting here is that when you look at the collegiate scene in the United States, it is still primarily focused around competition. There are some institutions that do have educational programs and academic planning and research, but it's still very rare. And while it's continuing to grow, I'd estimate it's close to 240 plus schools now that have an esports program of some sort, whether that be just a facility, whether that be scholarships or something in between that. It has been extensively growing, but has slowed down because of a few different reasons. First, there's a larger enrollment cliff that's happening in the United States. But another part of it is this larger generational divide of where there's still a lot of individuals, administration that are questioning what is the value of esports? Is this something that is just meant for our students on campus? Is it something larger? And so the way, of course, we address this, or the approach I've been taking, is trying to find and demonstrate connection esports to some of these concepts that many of these administrators, those, understand. And sports is definitely a key part of that, which brings us to a quick thing of what the roles of these programs are like on college campuses. Predominantly, the roles these currently have are in student engagement, but there's a lot of different programs that are starting to expand into traditional interdisciplinary programs, professional development, which is another area I'm very keen on, is getting the hands-on experience to our students through the different tournaments that we host, through the different leagues, whether they're the tournament organizer, they're the ones doing the broadcasting and producing or what have you, as well as community outreach. We've actually started a summer esports camp program as well that not only has them competing in a variety of titles, but also couples that with educational programs and everything from digital hygiene, digital wellness, to basic elements of programming, as well as basic PC hardware and those types of elements. And so while there's a lot of ways in a collegiate campus in the United States that esports can be integrated, it is still predominantly focused more on the student activities, less of this larger holistic focus that we've heard from our previous 2 speakers, which is where I am hoping to get us towards. And that brings us really to the larger element. In the United States, it's hard to really explain just how powerful college traditions are in shaping some of these. Some of the events that are put on for different sports and such, football being probably the most easiest one to look at and call out, is amazing. I'm at the Ohio State University. We have a rivalry with, it's often called the team up north or the University of Michigan, that when those games happen every year, it's called just the game in the US and such. It is one of the biggest sports rivalries in the country, easily, and has viewership numbers that dwarf many of the professional and NBA. I think the only one really that we don't beat is the NFL with Super Bowl and what have you. But we're talking about millions and millions of viewers and fans and like. And what we find in research already that has been happening is that these fandoms and such, they hold powerful cultural elements in the US. They often reflect ideological as well as cultural shifts that occur, and there's something that's intrinsic. We're talking about 100+ years of history, and that's something esports is, due to its youth, it still does not have. But it's something that we can learn from and the like. And unfortunately, so far, esports, some of the research that has been done on these fandoms, a lot of times it is much more decentralized. It's less of, it's like a specific title or a specific player. But in the US, for these different collegiate rivalries and such, it's everything about the university. It's everything about it. If you see, regardless of if you understand fencing or if you understand rugby or what have you, parents, grandparents, and kids will tune in and still watch these different activities they don't fully understand because they understand this cultural connection they have with the university around them. It's really that element I'm trying to kind of convey today that I hope you're taking away, because it is one of those other ways that we can have esports become a larger part of, especially in the United States at least, mainstream society through using these pre-existing channels. And so we've done that in a few different ways in my last few years. So this is a picture from one of our first rivalry events. This was around the big game. We traditionally do an event about a week before this big game competition that happens between Ohio State and the University of Michigan. Which is really cool about this, though. I apologize for the quality of the photo. But this event actually was the first event of its kind in the United States to include name, image, and likeness, which we had members such as C.J. Stroud, which is now the quarterback down at Texas for NFL. We had Emeka Egbuka, who at the time was playing for Ohio State, now also is in the NFL as well, and a variety of other individuals that were part of this. And we hosted the event in our facility, which is about 4,200 square feet, or I was doing the math earlier today, it's about 600 square feet or so. We have about 75 PCs inside the facility, in addition to consoles and what have you. In the middle picture is actually me teaching our first esports class earlier this year, funny enough, which was a lot of fun, and we're still teaching this fall as well. So we used that facility to host this event, which had both players as well as alumnus from both institutions playing Fortnite in a digital arena that Epic Games actually helped make for us specifically to compete with it. And we were able to get a lot of popular press coverage just because of the big game. And so we were able to put in front of people who had never seen esports before the opportunity to cheer on the schools they normally would through this event. And the numbers don't lie. We were able to get a significant amount of viewership for this back in 2022. And while this was a partnership with eFuse, another esports company in the United States based out of Columbus as well, and Epic Games, we were still able to get close to 42 million Twitter impressions, about 90K unique viewers. And to kind of put you in perspective for those of you that do event organizing, the press release for this didn't come out until less than 2 weeks before the event had actually happened. Working through any university's titling and licensing office takes a bit. So it was the fact that we even received this amount of viewership and such with only a 2-week runway of actually being in the public was amazing. But that's just one example, and there's a lot of other opportunities that happen, and one I want to highlight that happened just recently at Syracuse University, where they did a kickoff for the regular season for the Power Esports Conference, of where they had Michigan State, Boise State, all travel to Syracuse's new amazing facility they have in New York, and are building on rivalries that have already started through esports, right? Really what's amazing about this is that it's now not just piggybacking off of traditional sports, but teams are beginning to build traditions and such similar to that. And by having these in-person events and the like, are starting to create those same traditions or similar traditions to traditional esports. And while this is just one area of it, there's so much to esports alone. Part of our role as educators, as advocates for what this activity can do on multiple levels, is showing others what that is. And what is amazing about that is that when you put it in front of parents, when you put it in front of administrators, when they see those students in action, competing, representing their institutions, they see, I know what this is already. And every day when I go to work, my facility is right next to the Ohio State football stadium. 110,000 people can fit in that. And it's always a reminder to me what could happen, because 100 years ago, these questions are being raised almost exactly considering traditional athletic sports as well. But it's just a matter of time for hopefully similar there. So with that said, thank you very much. I look forward to answering your questions, and appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today.
Okay, so thank you so much, John. It was really great presentations. And then I know this your facility in at Ohio because we had a discussion there, and then it was really huge in the place. So yeah, I hope that in the Tsukuba also needs to have such a place. I hope that, but let's see in the future. It depends on the budget, right? So anyway, okay, so let's move on to the Q&A session. So if you have any question, please ask to the three speakers, and in Japanese, in English, whichever you want. So yeah, if you have any question, please raise your hand, and then you can also have, ask to, yeah. You don't have it? No question? Okay, great. Please wait, because, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much for very interesting presentations. I actually myself, I don't do any research on esport, but previously I was competing. And that's why I have a question. So now we talk about future of esports, its huge arenas, huge budgets spent on it. But are there any perspectives of for old style, I would say, old school esports, something like games like Heroes and of Might and Magic Free. When like I was competing in this discipline, so that's why I'm asking. It's something not like traditional esports nowadays. It's not like 5 people playing in a team, huge arena and powerful PCs. It's something like more local. And what do you think is going to be the future for this kind of esport? And do we have future? So this is my question.
Yeah, I think okay. Yeah, no, great question because oftentimes we're talking about the big stuff, the big events. You saw the Esports World Cup and everything. But what more cooler is grassroots esports. So my background is World of Warcraft, and I competed there. And you have those niche games, I would always say, with a loyal community, with a great community, and Heroes of Might and Magic getting its new version, new old version now soon. We will see those communities emerging more and more, especially because it is a space where um, we reach those people we are normally not reaching. So you were talking about EVE Online, where same game, where there is a small group that is interested but loyal and enthusiastic. So it becomes easier to do those tournaments. I was 2 months ago, well, 3 months ago, at the Age of Empires tournament, where 200 people were watching that, coming from all around the world to see a 20-year-old game still being played. And that's the beauty of it. We will always have those spotlight events, but at the same time, all the small events have a space. And it makes it easier now with a lot of Twitch is easy, doing the tournament is easy. And if we give the students the opportunity to do their game, they will go with it. At our university, we have now the biggest fighting game community in Norway because two crazy kids wanted to do fighting games. And that is the part where if we are able to give them the space, I do see Heroes getting back again, having a loyal community as well.
Thank you very much because for me it's very interesting topic because my parents they were born in 70s and I think they are sort of the first generation of people involved in esports because you know in zeros is computer clubs people just come and play together and I think it's also esport. It's not like what we imagine like saying esport nowadays but it also was the beginning. So thank you very much for your answer. Thank you very much all presenters for your presentations. It was very interesting. I'm happy attending this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tobias. Do you have any other questions? Yes. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm Hajime Akiyama from the University of Tsukuba. I'm a colleague of Tsubasa, and congratulations of having this session. I have a question to Dr. Price. Yeah, thank you very much for your presentation. And I think it's really interesting for us to think about the future of esports compared to, I don't know how to say, traditional sport, like physical sport, because especially in the United States, I think the college sport is really a big maybe a big kind of organization and also big business as well, I think. And what will be the future of esports? Will that will esports be a kind of part of the kind of current physical college sports, do you think? Or will that be the different one? And what will be the relationship between physical sport and esports in the US college sport in the future? Thank you. If you have a bit of kind of insight, I would appreciate it.
No, thank you very much for that question. And it's a question I've mulled over many a times myself because it's hard to really guess where it is. And that's one thing to understand is that in the United States, the traditional sports, especially at the collegiate level, is also going through significant changes and still trying to decide how the modern landscape really will go to the future. But as specifically to your question, there are some institutions that are taking a more traditional tack and actually beginning to incorporate esports programs directly into the athletic departments. Probably the best example I can think of is Boise State University just recently, this year, moved its esports program led by Doc Haskell, who's a great, one of the first people really in the United States to take that to a high level into their athletics department, and it's really begun. And I think that is one possibility. But I think the one that's more likely is a continued, is it actually splitting into two different realms in addition to the academic side. One being in the athletics and kind of that traditional competition, but secondly, recreation actually, of where the recreational programs that exist on many of these college campuses that run things like intramurals, that run different health activities and such, and club activities for sports, takes that on more. And I think it actually leads into the previous question as well of where what's happening is it's more of the normalization of these groups, of these activities, so that it's not something that's hidden away, but people are able to really talk about that and it seem as something much like if you had a hobby of playing the United States pickleball has become super popular or such like that. And so I really do see there being a potential of where it goes towards that more traditional model of where we're having these name, image, likeness, we're having these huge events and such and competitions. But I think the one that's the most sustainable, and that's a question I think about very often, is having these different groups and such that are able to operate, quote unquote, out in the open, so to speak, and to allow people to follow those interests they have that previously in other generations they haven't been able to. So thank you for your question.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think this really reminds me of the definition of esport, which Tobias just presented in the first presentation. That reminded me of thinking of the definition about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your question, my colleague. And then, yeah, okay, go ahead. I think you have the question to Isayo, no? No, it's kidding.
I have questions to all speakers. Like most of the speakers are mentioned about the education and esports, and I wanted to know the longitudinal effect of esports. Like this kind of esports events can change the attitudes towards education. Do you have any insight about this?
Each speaker. Okay.
Yeah,
All speakers.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, large.
I think it's a good question because we often then think about esports as not an education or I mean, where older parents were saying waste of time and all. But that's the part where we see that change more and more, where esports becomes like a case study more. It is not really the idea that we are training about esports, but with esports. And therefore it becomes this, where you were saying professional development. You have something there which the young generation finds fun. And that was for me 20 years ago as well when I did my tournaments. But it's more integrated, that it is part of your career path, your talent path. And you have this, I don't want to say easy because all of those tournaments are really hard to do and everything, but this easy way where you can test yourself around, where you might really realize quite early you will not be a pro. That's probably the one. But then you think about maybe journalism, maybe production, maybe coaching, maybe management, and you have the chance to test it around. So it becomes this test environment where it is easily done. You can then also go to John and say, I have this weird idea, do a rival against Michigan or something like that. Here's my idea. And at least from my experience, most of the time, the answer is not no. The answer is more like, tell me how. And suddenly it is then this learning environment. And I think that is something where this is the long-term perspective, because esports is then just a mindset that you apply to education.
Yeah, thank you for your answers. And I already understand that esports can improve the attention skills and improve the decision-making skills of players, but most of the company or industries are really hard to understand, like why the students must play the esports. So I think it's really important for explain the effect of esports to education and some things like that. So yeah, thank you for
That's
your
where
question.
our
Yeah.
research needs
Yeah,
to
that's
come
right.
in,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we have
Yeah,
to
thank you.
show that everything is proved. And
Yeah, I
so
think it's really hard
so
work. Yeah.
that's also your job then.
Yeah. Thank you for your answer.
So, and then now Sayo sent to me the message that she couldn't hear your questions because of the online. So could you repeat your questions to her?
ですか？同じ内容で。
はい。
日本語で大丈夫ですかね？
For Sayo, probably, yeah, she can understand Japanese as well. So.
個人的に気になったのが、なんか長期的な効果、何かそういうイベントとか企画してて、まあ、学生が、まあ、イベントを通じてなんか学校の授業とかに集中できるようになったみたいな、何か長期的な効果、何かあれば、なんか教えてほしいということです。Same question.
難しい質問だね。長期的な効果は、君のリサーチ次第だね。さっき言ったみたいに。So, I guess the long-term effects of esports, it's still, I assume, or I think research has only recently started. So there's very little data you can go off on. But with short-term feedback that I've had for our athletes and for our programs, we not only have them for young kids, but we involve teachers and parents as well. And they come to our esports tournament, they go through the cyber wellness lecture, the mental and physical well-being activities. And in terms of short-term feedback that we've had is that they actually understood that gaming or esports can be a part of their communication tool at home between their kids. And like Tobias said, you know, in his introductory speech, although there's quite a lot of toxicity, it could be something of positive, and it's not just a young phenomenon, but something that all generations can take part in. And it's like he said, it's hyper people focused. So hopefully your research can, in the long term, prove what our feedback is currently proving short term. Thank you.
ありがとう。
どうも。
Okay. Yeah. And then that is final question because we already 30 minutes late.
I won't belabor the point. I think all of our previous speakers have spoken exactly the way I would. I'll put it this way. I often describe it when I speak to especially parents who are still coming to grips with what exactly esports is. I ask them, well, do you think traditional sports like provides these different things, problem solving, leadership, communication? Usually the answer is yes. It's like, congratulations, you're already an esports fan, you just don't know it. Because that's essentially what we're doing. We're just now getting the proof, if you're talking like mathematically, to show like, hey, this is what it is. Everyone already understands the concept of what we're working with. We're just providing that data and connecting the language and verbiage back to that. And so really what I see in the next 10 to 20 years is the incorporation of these different activities into already existing areas of study and what have you, as just another offshoot as we do with sports medicine or sports psychology, sports law, what have you. It's just an offshoot of that. It's a matter of providing that data, of course, that is the work we have to do next, but it's already there. I always find it interesting because these same arguments and aspects of what's esports place. The arguments have already played out. They did that in the 1910s and 1920s. We're just repeating the work with new data and better methodologies of actually verifying the data. So I think it's the long-term goals are very optimistic. It'll just depend on how long it takes, but it's going to happen. So thank you.
Thank you for your answers.
Yes. Thank you so much for your questions. It's really helpful for all speakers. They can also answer the questions, at least one question. And then I'm really sorry that it's already 30 minutes late because of my capacity as well. And then there are so many, the technological stuff. So apologize it. And then let's try to take the 20 minutes pause because I don't want to cut off the short break. It's very important for you as well. So yeah, 20 minutes. So it means that now around 45. So after 20 minutes, so 3:05 we will restart here. So yeah, please come here again and panel session 2. Thank you so much for all speakers for the panel session 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Please give us a follow on Instagram. Bye, guys.
Sayo, are you here? Ah. We still have 2 minutes. Ah, いきますよ。大丈夫ですか？はい。
テスト、テスト、テスト。OK です。
Okay. Let's restart the panel session 2. And then again, thank you so much for staying in here. And then, yeah, as I say that, we already late the 30 minutes, but I really wants to create really, laugh and also, comfortable atmosphere. So that's why I don't want to be too Japanese as well to, strict time. So, and then we invited again 3 speakers for the panel session 2. And then the first speaker is Dr. Takashi Matsui. Yeah. And then he's an associate professor at the University of Tsukuba and Institute of Health and Sports Science. And then he's the leading person for the esports activity and esports study in Japan, and especially in Tsukuba as well. So that's why then I really need to include him, and then I really wants to present his work and his research, because he have done a lot of really excellent research. So. And then he will present on the esports science in Tsukuba Science City, the neurobiological strategy for fatigue prevention and social bonding. Thank you so much, Matsui Sensei, and floor to yours. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Takashi Matsui, and thank you very much for very kind introduction, Professor Tsubasa. And so today I would like to introduce the scientific context in the esports by the University of Tsukuba in the Tsukuba Science City. Okay, so for all guest speakers or audience, so welcome to Tsukuba City. So as you can see, that this is Mount Tsukuba. Do you know? And so this is the origin of the name of the Tsukuba City. And this mountain has the, so left side is a man body, and right side is the women body. So I mean, so this is a symbol of the social bonding, okay? And then, so in this environment, so we promote the esports science for making the social bonding on the Institute of the Health and Sports Sciences. So as you can see, so this is the area of the sports science in the University of Tsukuba. And so this is the main gymnasium, and this is my research room. Yeah, and then this is a building of the class. And so as you can see, this is a swimming pool and the athletic field and tennis court. And this is a Budo gymnasium. And this is a library for sports science. So as you can see, this is the research hub for the health and sports science toward optimizing human physical and mental vitality. Okay, so this is a self-introduction. Who is Matsui? And I am Matsui. And So my measure is brain fatigue. So, I am focusing on the neurobiological mechanisms of exercise-induced central fatigue and preventive measures by using the animal experiment. So actually, I got a PhD by the animal study. And actually, I was a judo athlete in the University of Tsukuba. So I belong to the All Japan Judo Federation, and I am researching about the high performance for the judo athletes, but also judo is an educational way for the human development. So however, if the effect of the educational effect on the judo is more like a religion. So in our hands, I am researching about the effect of social bonding by judo practice through the oxytocin, which is a social bonding hormone. Based on this research, I am promoting the esports science in Tsukuba Science City using the esports prolonged play model. And so esports is competitive video gaming. So the single play alone playing alone is just video gaming. And so we can define as the esports as the playing together is esports. So I will introduce later the playing together promotes oxytocin secretion as well as judo practice. So this is the one of the evidence for showing that the esports is like a sport esports has a sporting effect like a judo. Okay, so this is a facility of the exercise or sports sciences. And then my major is exercise biochemistry. And that's why I have some exercising machine for measuring the gas exchanges. And so this is for measuring the energy expenditure or some glucose or fat utilization. And also we can mimic the exercising model in the animals. If so, we can measure the neurotransmitters during exercise immediately. Okay, and we also we can also measure the some contents in the cells, such as genes or proteins or metabolites, for the biochemical assays. Okay, on the other hand, we also have a many sports field. For example, judo and American football and the track and field. So sometimes we go to the sporting field to get the saliva for measuring the hormone levels in the saliva. And then, so we can compare the judo and American football and the track and field. So interestingly, the single running that does not affect the oxytocin production, but parallel running increases the oxytocin levels in the saliva. So we can detect like these things in this sporting field. Okay, in this environment, we have a esports science laboratory. As you can see, we can measure the brain activity by the functional neurons, and then we also use the eye trackers, and we can detect the facial expression levels and the surface temperature, and the finger movement, and some posture design. So, however, so in this situation, so I think we cannot enjoy the gaming or esports. That's why, so I established the esports field. So we held the university esports match using the Valorant, and then so 4 universities, that's Tsukuba, Waseda Keio, and Meiji, and then sometimes Temple University. Come to Tsukuba, and we have the contest, several times of contests. And then we measured the heart rate. So as you can see, the heart rate monitor here. And so we also measured eye movement and some saliva hormones. This is for the elucidating how we promote the teamwork during exercise, during esports. Okay, and we also have the field for the science of watching sports. So we actually we have performed the effect of watching esports in the casual fans or hardcore fans. So I will write some papers in the near future. Okay, so this is a research introduction. So about the animal study. So as you can see, animal can run on the running treadmill, and so we are focusing on the role of brain lactate in developing central fatigue. I mean the brain fatigue, and during endurance exercise. So as you can see, brain has a glycogen, which is a glucose storage molecule, and when neurons are activated, this glycogen is degraded into lactate. And this lactate can be used in the neurons for energy synthesis. But also, this lactate can make a inhibitory signal for the neuronal activation through the GPR81, which is a lactate receptor. So this data shows that lactate is the very important energy source, but also that it protect our brains as biological defensive mechanisms through the lactate signals for neuronal inhibition. So this is one of the evidence for the one of the mechanisms of the brain fatigue. So I mean the brain fatigue is the defensive mechanism to prevent overactivity. Okay, so the fatigue is not only during exercise, but also affect following exercise. So vigorous exercise leads inadvertent weight gain. So as you can see, the vigorous exercise decreases the physical activity following exercise in the next day. So their body weight is also increased together with decreased physical activity and the core temperature. Core temperature is the indicator of the basic metabolism. So fatigue can protect to reduce our energy expenditure, basic energy expenditure. So we have to think we perform exercise regularly and optimally. This is very normal things, but it's very important based on the fatigue research. Okay, so next steps, I am focusing on I want to break away from the science of exercise as a sports science. So as I showed before, the exercise can activate brain neurons, and some hormones are secreted, and exercise improves the individual mood and cognitive functions. On the other hand, the sports is based on the competition or cooperation via over two peoples. So so in the educational context, the non-cognitive skills is very important for improving the human growth. And then so this is enhanced by the social bonding hormone oxytocin, and the oxytocin is secreted by the body contact. So I thought that what is the exercise plus body contact? So one of the answer was judo. So I checked the effect of judo on the oxytocin secretion. So as you can see, the judo practice increases the oxytocin production across the competitive levels or some sexes. Okay, so judo can make the body-to-body communication through the oxytocin. Okay, so on the next step, I wanted to overcome the overcome physical fitness levels to make a social bonding. So I am interested in the esports. So as you can see, playing alone. So this I can define the playing alone as a video gaming, and playing together. So this is esports. So as you can see, this is the heart rate levels, and the white is playing alone, and black is played together. So as you can see, the play alone does not change the heart rate levels. So this is almost sedentary levels. But the play together increases the heart rate levels. In this situation, the saliva oxytocin level is increased only in the playing together. The play alone does not change the oxytocin levels. And interestingly, if playing together, so offline playing increases the oxytocin levels and the friendliness mood, but the online playing does not increase the oxytocin levels and the friendliness mood levels. So we can note that the offline esports playing is a very sports mimetics, yeah, without exercise for social bonding. Okay, so this is a facial expressions. So happy facial expression intensity increased by the offline playing, but online playing decreases the happy facial expression like this. Okay, and then on the next step, we checked the effect of esports playing on the elder people. So as you can see, even in elder people, the facial expression, happy facial expression is increased, as well as younger people's. So esports can be a inclusive sports from students to the elder peoples for their well-beings. Okay, so we next performed the regular playing experiment. So I mean so elder people had a 3 months of esports playing in the elder people community. So as you can see, this is a strobe task performance. So this is for the executive function test. And so in the exercise plus, mild exercise plus esports playing for 3 months enhanced the strobe task performance compared with exercise plus just watching the cognitive videos. That's why the esports can foster the social bonding and to resolve the isolation, and then esports promotes the executive function in the elder people. However, the esports in the esports world, the overplaying, so I mean the too much playing is very big problem. So in my insight, so it should be because the feeling of fatigue during esports are not easy. I mean we cannot recognize the fatigue during esports. So in the normal exercise or sports, so first the sense of fatigue is increased like this, and then humans will all out. So how is in the esports? So we checked about this. So participants played the virtual soccer games for 3 hours. And then we checked the sense of fatigue and the executive functions. So this is the sense of fatigue. So sense of fatigue is increased and just only 3 hours of prolonged play. But the executive function is enhanced by the 1 hour of the play, but the 2 hours of prolonged play decreased the executive function, so delayed the response time, I mean. So as you can see, the sense of fatigue during esports increases later than cognitive decline. So this is a very big problem and very specific character of the esports in contrast to the physical sports. So how we can detect the cognitive fatigue during esports? So we measured the eye movement during esports like this session, and then so blue is a casual player, and red is the hardcore player. So as like a professional players. So over 2 hours of prolonged play and decreased the pupil diameter across the gaming expertise. So and the decreased pupil diameter correlate with the cognitive speed or cognitive accuracy. So on the other hand, the sense of fatigue does not correlate with cognitive speed or accuracy. So this means the sense of fatigue is not reliable to recognize cognitive fatigue during esports. So this must be the same for brain activity or brain working for the office or classes or in the modern humans. That's why I am always noticed that my cognitive fatigue during writing the papers. Okay, so maybe this type of the acute cognitive fatigue we cannot it is very difficult to recognize the cognitive fatigue during brain activity. So if we cannot recover the brain activity, brain fatigue accurately, that situation can induce the chronic fatigue syndrome. So that's why in the modern society, chronic fatigue or presenteeism, which means a decrease in the productivity during work, losses over $1 million per year for companies with 1,000 employees. Yeah, so maybe esports can resolve this problem. Esports science resolve this problem. I hope so. Okay, and then based on these researches, we are promoting the university, government, and the academic collaborations in the Tsukuba Science City. So on the last session, I will introduce the detail of these collaboration. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's a very wonderful presentations, and then there's so many evidence, to show how esports can make it effective and then contribute to our society as well. So thank you so much, Matsui Sensei, for your presentation. And then, yeah, let's move on to the second speaker, and then Dr. Won. Right, Won with Jin, and who is the assistant professor at the University of Etoba Women's University at the Department of Content Convergence, and then she will have the presentations on esports as assemblage of post-digital culture on technicity, affect, and community. So thank you so much, Owen. Oh, next to you. And then, yeah, and then floor to yours. Thank you.
Thank you for the introduction. And hi, my name is Yewon Jin, and I'm from Ewha Women's University. I work as assistant professor at Department of Content Conversions. Um, so at our most beautiful campus of Ewha, I run a lab called a Play, Culture, and Technology Lab, where we study games, esports, and other conversion contents as a site of social, cultural, and technical transformation. And in that sense, esports has been always very special for me. And I've been playing games since forever. And then I was a long time fan of esports. And I also spent some of my days in esports production. So during those times, what I realized was that esports was much more than what we see from the outside. And so today I kind of want to discuss that esports are one of the most dynamic areas that we can look at today, that technology and culture and community come together to create new ways of living. So I'd like to explain this, my core message, through the lens of philosophy of technology and through especially 3 points, technicity, effect, and community. So let's start with the technicity. If we think about it, what is the core of esports? Probably the desire to play games competitively and together. And beside its core, esports has been changing its formats and practices continuously. So from the first esports competition in 1972 to huge LAN parties where you had to carry all your devices, and maybe the early days of esports casting where they used software called Shoutcast, which became the name for the esports casters. And then finally to the streaming platforms, which kind of fueled esports to be the most dominant youth culture. And what it's been doing is that esports continuously has been incorporating the newest technologies possible, but which were often made for other purposes, not for esports. And then they've weave them into this ensembles of heterogeneous actors. These ensembles of games and humans and codes and machines and platforms. And what's interesting about these ensembles they were never like pre-designed. Let's say when esports was finally being aired as a regular programming in Korean television, it was kind of adapting the existing cultural industry structure and then kind of changing it a little bit. And when during the pandemic, when all the other traditional sports had to go on to hiatus, esports continued. And what we did was create this remote broadcast model that kind of changed the structures. And then we were able to provide comfort and connectedness to millions of people around. So it's been doing is this, what this ensemble creation was doing is that they were always fluid and then like it was like indeterminate, but then they keep creating the new structures, which kind of made esports into laboratories of digital technologies that you create this new structure and then you kind of stick to it and you kind of make it into this shared practices and then it eventually becomes a trajectory of cultural know-hows, which means that we eventually change how we share and imagine and do culture in our civilization. And then let's move to the effect. So when esports modern esports, let's say, that's something that you broadcast on, started, it borrowed this format of existing traditional sports broadcast. So it started with the title sequence, and then the venue shot, and then the caster's desk, and kind of so on. But what was most significantly, they did was that placing this gameplay scene exactly where the field of play was placed. So this gave esports a sense of legitimacy, making esports gameplay as real as the actual sports that's being played on the field. And what kind of touches the hearts of the esports fans are not just the gameplay, the exciting high level of gameplay. It's seeing these your favorite champions and characters come alive on the stage with the never before seen spectacles. And then it's also seeing those big numbers that tells you that these many people are watching with you. And then also seeing the rapid chat, live chat going up, and then you realize that it's expanding the original content, the meaning of the content, with the so many contexts that's keep being provided constantly. And then finally, when you see these real-time datafied performances of the players, you realize that you now have this vision for something that you couldn't see before. So this is kind of esports is kind of training us to learn how to sense emotions and feelings through different ways that we were not used to before. And then esports is also changing how we see the world. This is the award-winning broadcast from Riot Games. And if you can see, the broadcast started with the shots of Shanghai, and then it moved to Berlin for the pre-desk, and then it kind of transformed the scene to a floating virtual space where it was also connected to the in-game space. And while the game was going on the tournament server in China, it was actually casted in Seoul in our studio, and our LCK casters were casting over it. And then later on the broadcast moved to the shots of Shanghai studio, and then North American casters who were kind of in the lockdown and where they were staying in their homes. So what you can see in this layout is that within 3 or 4 hours of broadcast, we were all everywhere. So different cities of different continents were together, and then also the two virtual spaces, they existed as if they are kind of next to each other and with no delay. And what it does to us is that to the viewers, if you are kind of exposed to these kind of broadcasts, it changes your sense of time and space, and then how you feel distance, and then how you see the world as imagined. So in this sense, esports is changing the way we feel the emotion, and then how we perceive the world, and also how we look at world and kind of look ahead as a humanity. So lastly, on community. So if the number of esports audience tell us something, it's probably the fact that esports creates communities. And then the community, this new solidarities are formed beyond this existing boundaries, beyond the geographical and political or national boundaries. And what it does is that the communities, the main job that they do is continuously inventing and negotiating the governance or the problem solving or the know-hows of the society. So for example, they'll create creative ways to protest. So these are done by T1 fans, which is most popular esports team in Korea. And when they disapprove the team's management or how they hire coaches or how they don't like how the teams are treating the players, they send these trucks with clear messages and then have the truck stay there forever. And what it does is it not only sends a message to the teams, but also it was a very successful way of getting the mainstream media's attention. And then esports also challenges existing norms of our society, such as ownership or authority. So rather than passively accepting what's given from the older generations, they always question and then try to suggest new models, and then it kind of eventually works out in the esports scene. So when I was working in production, I worked with a lot of young people, and then they would come to me and ask, why do we have to do contracts this way? And then oftentimes I realized that I really do not have a reasonable answer, except that because that's how we've been doing this forever. So, but then those are the questions that made me realize that we haven't really questioning the norms. And then due to its global nature, esports also serves as this lens for younger generations to learn about the wider worlds. And this oftentimes it's only outlet that they learn about the world news. So, what I wanted to say was that, so let's say if we lived in this last 20 or 30 years were kind of a period of digitalization, we're now moving into this post-digital era where already digital technology is given us to like an infrastructure technology, just like electricity. And it is kind of this now that all these power of digital technology will eventually come out and then change our society a lot. And while we can, if we think that way, we can see what this community is doing is that eventually thinking, providing us this, maybe the new ways to structure the world. And maybe instead of our outdated social systems or government systems that were built in industrial age, maybe there could be another way. And so I think esports community could serve as a site of a joint civilization construction, which originated from from the digital natives. So to conclude, I'd like to say that esports are assemblages, possible assemblages of post-digital culture. And then because of that, I think we need to not look at esports merely as an industry, as a commodity or a political instrument, but rather we need a more serious investigation into its ontological essence. And then if some area is showing us the glimpse of the future, and I think it is our responsibility as scholars and as practitioners and as citizens to really think about what it is that is coming and then try to learn from it. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yawon. It's a really excellent presentations. And then, yeah, it's a really, yeah, there's so many information for me, but it's a really wonderful presentation. Thank you. And then, yeah, and then let's move on to the final speaker for the online speaker again. And then, 大丈夫ですか? Okay, so, and I want to introduce him, and then he is his name is Dr. Jem Abanazia, and then he's the lecturer at the Manchester Metropolitan University, Manchester Law School, and then actually I'm writing a book on esports law and governance. It was accepted by Routledge, So in 2027, it will be published, hopefully, and then we are co-authored for this book. So that's one, and I'm really happy to invite him to have the presentation today. So could you hear me, Jem?
Yes, I can hear you. And can you hear me?
Wait. Now, yes.
Okay.
Great.
You can hear me. That's great. That's a great start, at least. Okay.
Wait.
So shall I start? Or
Wait.
okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, that's great. So thank you very much for inviting me, Tsubasa, and your university. And it's great to see you, great to see friends, colleagues, and as well as the academics I follow. Although I'm not there, my heart is there, and it's an absolute pleasure to be before you. I'm a lawyer by trade, but I'm a gamer and I deal with sports and esports. But also I'm a sports ethicist. So I want to bring together two types of issues. First, we have the
Jem?
esports and its possible acceptance by the Olympic movement, and
Jem?
how and sorry.
Did you share the screen?
No, I haven't. I'll just share a few moments later.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. For this one, I'm just gonna bring together the Olympic movement part and esports and how they can collaborate to create something that is useful, moral education. For this one, I'm just gonna share my screen with you. I hope you can see it. Let's see if we can. Can you see the screen now?
Yes, I can see.
Okay, did the slide change?
Yes.
Okay, that's even better. So for this one, of course, I'm going to be talking about whether esports can be a tool for moral education. And it's important because there have been so much negative publicity and negativity around esports and what it pertains. So it would be good to talk about its positive aspects. My presentation won't be wishy-washy or too rose-tinted, I should say, but we should also see the good, positive, moral aspects of esports. So as you well know, we're going to have hopefully, have an Olympics-related event in Riyadh in 2027. But the important thing is this is not the first time the Olympic movement and esports industry are dealing with each other. So when I'm saying the Olympic movement, it's a group of sports governing bodies. So at the top, there is the International Olympic Committee. It's the supreme authority of the community. I'm using the term supreme authority, not as an exaggeration, but it appears within the Olympic Charter. And we also have national Olympic committees and international sports governing bodies. So the Olympic movement in general has been in collaboration with the video games industry since the 1980s. There have been different activities, different events where they collaborate each other, but also there have been licensing agreements between international sports governing bodies, such as FIFA or the International Olympic Committee and video game publishers. But since 2018, since the esports revolution, I should say, the International Olympic Committee has been engaging with the esports system. It's been thinking about esports, whether it esports can be a part of the Olympic movement? In what circumstances can it be a part of the Olympic movement, etc.? And also, as we'll see later, what are the downsides of esports and whether it can be a negative influence within the Olympic movement. But as we have noticed in the previous years, we had Intel Extreme Masters tournaments just before the Olympic Games, the Olympic Esports Series, and Olympic Esports Week. And of course, most importantly, there's the deal with the Saudi Arabian government and its funding, investment funds, etc., so that we have a new type of organization. So I was talking about the reservations within the International Olympic Committee and the Olympic movement. In the first instance, the International Olympic Committee was exploring certain collaboration methods with the esports industry or the video games industry. And the first thing they came up was the violence in video games. So how do we deal with the violence, especially in shooters, third person or first person shooters, and maybe even strategy games, and whether we should accept these types of games or not? And Thomas Bach, back in the day, was quite clear. He said no killer games. And as a German speaker, under Thomas Bach used this specific term because in Germany, Tobias would know better, of course, and hopefully I'm not butchering the German language, there is a term Killerspiele, which means basically killer games, video games where you can kill people, albeit in a virtual environment. So basically, the International Olympic Committee, especially its president, was saying that this can't be a part of our community. We have to deal with more peaceful games. The other point that we're raising was that esports and the video games industry are driven by profits. They are driven by business interests. But the International Olympic Committee, the Olympic movement, are driven by values and morals. So this was their approach to the whole thing, and they had reservations. And in one of my previous works, I was just saying that the esports industry and the video games industry do have moral values. And in essence, the International Olympic Committee and the Olympic movement are also driven by business interests. So there's some kind of a collaboration or intersection between the interests and the industries. So the roots of the reservations were, of course, the Olympic Charter, the supreme document of the Olympic movement, and especially the International Olympic Committee. And as we can see in Rule 2, the mission and role of the International Olympic Committee includes ensuring in sport that there is the spirit of fair play and that there is no violence. Of course, this is kind of interesting because we see exceptions to these rules. We have boxing, and although MMA is not part of the Olympic movement, we still have boxing where people can get hurt. So there is some kind of violence, and it's not virtual, it is real. But still, since it's the supreme document of the Olympic movement, it has to be taken into account. And also, we have these negativities surrounding esports or video games, indicating that, falsely, of course, esports and video games, when they are violent, can lead to violence. So all of these are, when accumulated, we have a negative posture in terms of the games that should be selected within these IOC supported events. So another point was, of course, made by the International Olympic Committee, was basically money corrupts, and it practically creates problems within the Olympic movement. amateurism came very later within the Olympic movement, within the Olympic Games, and the main reason was that they thought that money corrupts. We should make things amateur. So this was another reason, a historical reason why the International Olympic Committee had reservations regarding the business side of things. Another point, and directly related to our subject, is that the fundamental principles of Olympism include culture and education. And culture and education through sport are important parts of not only sports, but also the International Olympic Committee, because we all know that spirit of fair play, professionalism, sports personship, integrity are all important parts of the Olympic movement and Olympism. And the International Olympic Committee, through its competitions, through its Olympic Games, tries to teach those ideas, so to speak. And the problem is there a clash of purposes between esports and the International Olympic Committee or the Olympic movement? Because we see the violent side of things, business side of things, and can esports act as a tool for moral education, educating people with regarding terms like sporting integrity, fair play, and sports personship. I use this AI-generated image. I'm going to tell you why later. So the general answer to my question is there a clash of purposes? Not necessarily, because on the practical side, the Olympic movement, for good or bad reasons, focused on virtual versions of sports, especially for the Olympic series and Olympic week. They focused on cycling, baseball, taekwondo, sailing, motorsports, etc. They focused on the virtual versions of those sports who are already part of the Olympic movement one way or another. So that leaves violence related sport titles and esports competitions out of contention. And there's also the moral reasons why not necessarily there's a clash of purposes between the IOC and the esports industry, because the esports ecosystem is not devoid of moral stances. It also focuses on the ideas of fair play, sportspersonship, integrity, getting together, working together. And the session before ours underlined these things. It's all about leadership. It's all about being together and working towards the same goal. And the esports industry, as well as the video games industry, take a really harsh stance towards those who break these rules, like match fixing or toxicity at times, especially in on social media and in professional tournaments. And betting and doping are also frowned upon. So there is some sort of balance between the two. And I believe that there is an inherent moral aspect within esports. The contest aspect of Olympism and esports is similar, because contest brings two or more humans together. And morality appears when two or more people appear together and interact with each other. So when you have esports as a contest, you need to have moral values. You need to have a moral stance towards the interaction between the competitors. So it's inherently related to, it's one way or another, a moral stance. The differentiations between good or bad or right or wrong. And therefore, as we've seen before, immoral practices are frowned upon. And esports, through working together, through an institutionalized environment, through an organized environment or certain rules, people get to know the good and the bad, what to do, what not to do, what to do, what to refrain from, etc. So again, there is some sort of overlap between esports and the Olympic movement. And also we've seen that the esports ecosystem uses the sports vernacular. For example, it uses the words fair play, sportspersonship, integrity, unfair advantage, competitive balance. And we've seen these terms, which are of course used by the International Olympic Committee, the Olympic movement, or any sports governing body. The esports ecosystem, the esports governing bodies or organizers do use these terms within their official documents or policy documents. So again, there is some sort of overlap between the two worlds, I should say. And that's the reason why they can come together and collaborate, as we've seen in previous years with the Intel Extremes, the Olympic Series, the Olympic Week, and as a part of the ongoing talk about esports, Saudi Arabia, and the competition in Riyadh. So, of course, I'm not presenting you a perfect world, because there are also issues. As we've seen in the AI-generated image, we see two white males shaking hands, and the idea of esports is definitely related to young white males playing video games. So this is one important downside of esports, and it has to be within the discussion regarding moral education, how to deal with non-white males and how they can participate in esports. And also we need to talk about the increasing importance of Saudi Arabia, the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia. And just yesterday, we received the news of esports being acquired by a consortium of, EA's, not EA Sports, EA in general, being acquired by the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia and a consortium led by Jared Kushner's Trump's son-in-law, of course, companies or investment funds. So we have to deal with those kinds of things, and we have to also think about how human rights can become a part of the discussion and a part of the moral education aspect of things. So thank you very much for listening to me, and I'll be happy to receive your questions during the Q&A.
Thank you so much. あっちのちょっと音量すいません、あります。Thank you so much for your presentation. It's really wonderful. And then yeah, we are both lawyers, so I understand each other. Especially, I also want to have the presentation concerning this. So thank you so much for your time, especially in the UK, because it's now in the early morning. So thank you so much for your time. And then I want to move on to the Q&A session, but time is so tight, so that's one. And I think that it's much better to skip out, and then you want to have the break, right? So, and then we will still have the two presentations today. So, and then afterwards it's finished. So we will have the 10 minutes break and then afterwards move back to here. So into 10 minutes, so please come back here for 10, please. Thank you.
すみません、ありがとうございます。全然時間通りいか
Hello.
ないか。全然時間通りいか。みんな喋るから。Let's go. Yes, so let's move on to the final session. And then the final session will be the two speakers, and then one from the professor and Rune Andersons from the University of Agda, and then the second speaker is the Matsui Sensei again, because he will present about the Tsukuba's activity on esports, a little bit shorter. So yeah, he told me that. So and then afterwards I will announce all the international conference in next years in Japan. So yeah, I will be the organizer a little bit now like this. So anyway, so and then so first speaker, as I say, is Rune Andersson. He's an associate professor at the University of Agda. He will present on the International Research Center for the academic esports and game technology, bridging research, entertainment, education, and skill development of new opportunities. So yeah, thank you so much for coming to Japan, and then floor to yours. Thank you.
You have the clicker thingy?
Wants to use?
Yeah. It's fine, nice to see the presentation again. Yeah. And just switch it from set.
No, you cannot do that. So you have to do that.
I have to
Are
do
you not connected?
Okay. Okay. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Rune Andersson. Thank you for inviting me to Tsukuba, and also for letting me speak about our newly developed research center in academic esports and game technologies. I work at the University of Agder, where I established the bachelor's and master's program in academic esports 5 years ago. We had our first 40 students go out last year. Most of them actually right into new jobs, which is really nice. I am also the assistant head of the ICT department, and I'm also the head of the research center. So it's quite busy at the moment. But very shortly, I have to explain a few things to you about my background. But I wanted to show you our newly established lab that we opened this year, actually. We got 50, 80 machines in there. We have workspaces with PS5s, with Xboxes, with F1 rigs. I would actually say if you need it, we have it. But we have everything from the small Nintendo Switches to smartwatches, pretty much anything that we can do, because we bridge much wider. And I'm not going to speak about just the gaming part of it. We are talking about esports in a very, very wide range, and mostly academic. I am not a gamer myself. I belong to the Commodore 64 generation and the Amigas, where I sat by myself and played a little bit, but I never got into that online gaming and everything like that. But as a K-12 teacher, which is my background, I started watching how incredibly fast people learned something when they had the right motivation, the right tools to do something. So game didactics became my thing. So anytime I saw a game that could do something, I was like, why is there not a subject that can utilize this effect into academia? And that's basically where my career came. I was looking at all these leadership skills. People don't understand that patience is a skill. Empathy is a skill. Understanding people is a skill. But also programming is a skill, and operating a drone. So all these elements are already in the games. And my background looking into this was that fact that the game always waits for you. The game is the best teacher you can ever have, because you can try as many times as you want to, and the game will still wait. It will wait till you are ready for the next level. And when you're ready for the next level, you are actually given instant gratification by saying, whoa, you've leveled up. Pokemon Go, I still remember when I opened it up, the first level, you literally just have to throw the ball and you level up. Yes, I mastered something. When you come to level 40 and you have to go into the 5 million range and people like me to just walk around with it, it takes forever. But we already know the reward is there. And the big thing that turned everything for me was when I was doing my research for my master thesis, and I was creating an educational role-playing game for mostly boys that could not fit in the regular school system. And they were working on assignments. Of course, it was a virtual world, they had to imagine everything. And I put, almost like in Lord of the Rings, you know, around the gate, I put all kinds of equations and stuff. I was working on Pythagoras. And these boys were using 5, 6, 7 hours. Parents were calling, it's like, they're doing homework. What are you doing to them? And what happened is that I interviewed them afterwards, and I was asking, why can you that don't sit still for 3 minutes, sit 6 hours and work on these equations, or these calculations? He said, because it's a gate. Okay, it's a gate. Well, per definition, a gate can be opened. All I need to find is the key. And these things are the key. So I can use time because I know I open the gate and I don't know what's behind the gate. If I sit and get new calculations in my classroom, my teacher would say, you are so good, here's some more. My reward is more work. My reward is making it even more boring. So that's basically how I went into this. And one thing led to another. I created the game. It became very popular. I went on to higher education to actually motivate engineering students to stay put through elements of gamification. And then we established a multimedia and design program where I was teaching e-learning and games. How do you use games for education? And then I was like, we need this education. I established it. Nobody really knows why it was accepted so fast. It took 2 years. I created all the subjects. I started stalking people like Tobias and the others because I needed the best people to teach. And we established the International Academic Esports Conference where I met Tsubasa. and a lot of other people, we've been given the opportunity by our university to travel around, create the connections we need to establish a good relationship across all continents, working with esports as an academic tool, not only as a playing tool. So I used Tobias' this quote actually here. Esports is the future lab of the digital society, a living test bed where people, not technology, shape how we work, learn, and connect in the 21st century. And I was just talking outside here on how important this human aspect is. Because some of the most interesting things I've been working on is how we, as humans, are changing too. Before the Industrial Revolution, how we were proactive, we were adapting to everything. We were the part of society that pushed things forward. Then came the Industrial Revolution, the sequentiation of everything, and our brains become sequential as well. We want to do one thing after another, and now comes AI. AI is a master of sequences. Anything then can be replicated, and AI will do it, and we know it. We can fight it, but we know it will happen. So what do we have to do? Well, we have to be proactive again. We have to utilize what an AI cannot do. They cannot be humans. Because an AI cannot have the stupidity of a human being. And sorry, I have to repeat myself, but I use Norwegian cooking as a good example. I think the Japanese have some of that as well, because most of our food, if eaten on the wrong time, will kill you. And at one point, some person must have eaten this fermented fish or whatever and died. And 2 weeks later, someone else did the same thing, even though they knew the guy in front of them died. And they're like, ooh, this tastes good. It's perfect. And then 2 weeks later, someone tried again, and it's like, oh. So this period of time, it's really good, and we survive. No AI in the world would do that. And in order to find that out, we need research. And everything I've heard here tonight is we need research, we need proof, we need things to do. And that's what me and Tobias was thinking about a couple of years ago. It's like, now we got the program, now we got people talking about it, we got all kinds of collegial things going on, but can we prove anything? Do we understand how we're going to do this? So we decided, why don't we start an international research center? And on December 24th last year, our university said, well, we're going to sign the paper and officially make this a research center. Now all you have to do is get people on board and start researching. And that's what I'm doing currently. So thank you for letting me present this. And I will stay within, everybody knows me, I could speak for 6 hours, but I'm actually going to do it. I'm going to do it for 20 minutes. So I actually put it on my watch. So basically what I've been talking about is like, it comes from a genuine interest in skill sets for me. And that's so wonderful when I speak with the people I work with, because most of them love gaming. They are part of that community, but we have learned from each other. They know that my ultimate goal is to get people into the future workforce, is to create jobs that we don't even know about yet. It's to attract the talents into many, many industries. That has one thing in common. We love games. And you were talking about the sports. It's the same thing. The generation now has digital sports as their element, or esports as their element. The elderly, in 30 years from now, we have to have a home for the elderly with game rooms, because this is what they used to do when they were kids. This would be their entertainment. This is something that could stop dementia from growing, because you activize your brain. All these things, we need to adapt for that future. I don't feel old, but I am old. And that's really, really frustrating. And I really don't want to be sitting there and knitting. I'd rather take my little Nintendo Donkey Kong or do something, because I used to play those. So now we have all these, we have the programs, and we now are getting universities from all over the world coming. It's like, oh, can we do the same thing? Would you help us in the creative process of doing these programs? Could we make a subject together? Is it possible, for example, for students from here to do a hybrid course with us, that we teach them online, or we make an exchange of students to be both places? We have students now in Australia. We have 4 in Japan and at different universities. We are aiming for South Korea now. We have in the US. So this is basically what we're doing. We're creating communities that are also academic communities, and they are connected by that little thing called the game. And that is a very, very powerful tool. all the images are actually from our lab, except for this one. It's my attempt to use AI. Tobias knows that as I know how to use it, but I cannot stand it. You know, I'm a good pen and paper kind of guy. Yeah. So what are we thinking? We are thinking to do pioneer research and innovation, global data ecosystems, collaborative excellence, and industry integration impact, interdisciplinary synergy. I did that very fast because I know I have a short time. But I also know that they're going to share the presentations with others, so you can ask me questions afterwards. But for me, it is very important to show that we are not working only with game technology. We call it esports and game technologies, but esports for me is so much more than the game. Some of the most exciting things I do is observations of young boys and girls playing. And it might sound creepy sometimes if you ask someone, like, can I come home to your house and watch you guys play? Yeah. But the funny thing is that when you do observations, which is research, you notice that after 10, 15 minutes, they don't recognize you're there anymore. That's why you do reality shows. It would never work if people actually thought they were being filmed, you know? But what I noticed is that the moment they start working, they become surgeons. Like a surgeon would go into a surgery, they slice up this person, you know, I've been observing it, then they talk about their new Porsche, where they're going on holiday next year, you know, they move the intestines out. It looks quite brutal. But this is something they've done a million times before. Moment the tumor comes, everything goes dead quiet, and 10 people are intensely working. And then they go out, do the same thing. Gamers are the same way. Young people playing, they will play, they will talk about school, training, what they're going to do and all that, and all of a sudden comes the challenge, focus. This is the personalities, this is how we work, and this is why research is so important. So the name of the lab, and I have to, again, blame Tobias, because he's good at that. He always needs to have an acronym. The original title was the International Research Center for Academic Esports and Game Technologies, because that's what we do in Norway. We don't do acronyms. Everywhere else they do acronyms, so he says, well, we can't have that. We have to have an acronym. So the name of it is FLAIR, Future Lab for Academic Research in Esports. Officially opened on 24th of December last year. We are working with new partners, and we're trying to get more partners. Some of the people in here are actually parts of the advisory board, and when everything is ready, everyone will get to read through it and come with comments, and it's open for everyone to say anything they want to. Because I want to create a research center open for everyone. We will collect data, but we will share it with everyone, of course, through due process, but Norway is the ideal place for such a center. Number one, energy. We have a lot of free energy. Number two, we also have a very stable political system, and the finances of universities are not connected to any change in government whatsoever. About 5% of our gross national product is like divided by the different parties. And we don't have a big difference between the political parties, which is also, they do strategies for 10, 15, 20 years. So if we get a center funded, it is not taken away by the next government. And also we have very strong laws and regulations when it comes to personal safety, storage of data, all those things. For example, Norway is not allowed to store data outside our borders. It has to be in Norwegian server banks. So if we have a center, we know that the data is also very well protected. So we can call what we in Norway define as black data, and that's basic data that is top secret. And we can host those. So that actually made, when we talk to partners, much, much easier to actually accept this, because we are also non-commercial, and we are not allowed to make money out of it. We don't have tuition-based education or anything like that, so there's really nothing to gain from it for us to do profit on it. We want to work with, this is of course something you see before this the organization. We want to have industrial partners as a part of the board, because we want the industry to say, these are the kinds of ways you need to point your education. You cannot educate a ton of people in something we don't need. So there has to be some sort of dialogue between business and what we do. There is already, but this has to be much more hands-on. But we are working on 5 different areas that we want to have main areas for research. So number one, transferable skills and sustainability. This is something we aim to have a big center on. Technology and game development, of course, you have to work with the AIs, the building of games. New esports could actually be much closer to serious gaming than we actually know. So there might be fun esports games that are actually purely educational as well. Media, arts, and design, very important areas. Health and education and game-based learning, which is probably one of the areas in which most people will venture eventually, because that is where AIs or computer science will not give us everything we need. Yes, you can get robots that help you and all that, but that cannot pat you on the back and comfort you. So, and the last one is, of course, business marketing and games and esports and platforms, governance, laws and regulations. All these things are esports. And I still remember we're working on Nordic Masters in esports now with University of Tampere in Finland. Juha Mari is there as well. And we were talking about the name. And again, some of us had long names that looks really nice and encompasses everything in the world. And he says, let's call it esports. And then they have to figure out what it encompasses. What is this to you? And I love the idea. Of course, management and owners are not ever going to accept it, but it's a really, really good idea. So I'm actually managed to keep my time. The road ahead's like, we need now to work on the concrete aims and timelines. And as we speak, we have students working on the online profile, how we're going to build things up like this, because it has to be run by students as well as faculty. It has to be a community-driven element as well. Because if we want to have future researchers, if we want to see new research in the field, well, they have to be a part of it. So Tobias is always speaking about what he calls the talent pipeline. Well, our esports team, we have 14 different things that we compete in. It's called the UIA Kraken, like the big octopus, really, really cool. But our main sponsor is Guard Insurance, the biggest maritime insurance company in the world after Lloyd's. And I was like, what did they have to do with esports? Absolutely nothing. And why do you want to sponsor us? We want access to the talent. We want access to the new generation that knows their stuff. And the first guy on the picture in the front here, he's now being hired by the companies to do event management, onboarding of new colleagues, esports teams on sites. And I believe that pretty much all companies in the world are going to have esports teams eventually as a social event or as a bonding event. And this is what we do. So Guard Insurance are our sponsors because they want to have interns. They get 4 interns every year, 2 in the technical department, 2 in the human resources department. And this is also valuable work training for the students. 7 of our students are now going into high schools and work with a technology and design subject where teachers, instead of teaching the students, because they don't know esports, they mentor our students in pedagogy, and then our students teach them esports and the subjects for esports. It's that synergy, and we are now going to monitor that through this research. So we need research areas more specified, we need collaborators, and that's why I'm here. I'm talking to your university, and I'm open for any university to contact us because we want to have as many partners as possible doing the right thing. It's really important when we do that. So outreach, financing is of course, so if you are a multi-millionaire sitting here and don't have anything to spend your money on, I know exactly where you should use it. Yeah? And we will take them with open hands. But we are also very transparent, so you can see my accounts as well, but our university has open accounts, so if we get funding, anyone can at any time in Norway go in and see where's the public funding used, where's the private funding used, who gets it and who gets it not. Anyone can ask for that information at all times, which is also a benefit of such a center, because we are working community-based. And location, finally, we are aiming to have the main hub at our university, but we want to have, you saw those pillars I put out here, to have one, for example, one in the United States, one in Japan, one in Korea, one in Europe, for example, so that they will be autonomous hubs that share data with the main hub, and then we work together like that. I think that is the best way of doing it, because then we also are not, oh, we own this, this is ours. It becomes almost like a gaming group of 5 people that has different ways of looking at things, but if we work together, we will actually achieve our goal and win the game. Alone, none of us will win. If we have only that research center, well, then you take away everything else that has to do with games and research. It has to be together. So by that, I will say stop, because that's not mine. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's a very excellent presentation. And then I was at the ACDO as well. And then I already had your presentation a little bit longer. Thank you so much for shortening your presentation. At the same time, I didn't know that you tried to change the name of the lab. So because of the bias. so I think the international game in Aurora. So it's really quite long. So I think that, yeah, I agree with you as well. So, okay. So let's move on to the next super presenters. Matsui Sensei again. He will talk about the Tsukuba's activity. And then afterwards, I will have the very short presentation. And then afterwards, it's finished. So thank you. And then forward to yours. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for introduction again. And then, so this is my second talk today. So I'm glad if you can hear patiently. Okay, so in this session, I will introduce the industry, academia, government collaboration as a University of Tsukuba engagement in esports development. So in my concept, so we are promoting the launch of the esports way. So this is mimicking the judo world. So judo means the gentle way in English. So I mean so I want to make a esports way like a judo, but I don't want to make some difficult or bored culture. So the heart of the esports way is behavioral changes inspired by positive experiences and feelings such as enjoyment, happiness, comfort, and deliciousness. For example, the exercise for esports performance. So almost esports players doesn't want to perform the exercise if they are not healthy, because they have no motivation for the exercise. But if exercise can activate or enhance the esports performance, they can get the motivation. This is one of the esports way. So another one is about the playing posture design for the esports. So I will show later the standing play enhances shot performance in the virtual soccer games. So if so, esports player or we want to stand for the playing. So I think in our office we have some height adjustment desk by the electronically, but almost people use that at the beginning. Yeah, and then so maybe that is for the behavior for the health. So I want to change the behavior for the high performance for getting the motivation, so we can get the stand for the brain activity. So on the same concept, the nutritional strategy is also important, and in the many type of the esports field we have. So we should think how to optimize in several esports fields. For example, professional players or student esports athletes or elder players. So I will introduce, sorry. So I will introduce each by each, the 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first is exercise for esports performance. So as you can see, so this is a previous study. This is not our study. So this is a study from the American sports, American College of Sports Medicine. Yeah. So as you can see, exercise improves video game performance, a win-win situation. So this in this experiment, the 15 minutes of high intensity intermittent exercise before esports playing, so which is a League of Legends. So this type of exercise can activate brain neurons and executive functions. So as you can see, the exercise increases the number of the hits on enemies, and exercise decreases the number of mistakes. So this data indicating that 15 minutes of exercise as a warming up for the esports promotes the gaming performance. If so, esports players can get the motivation for the exercise. So unhealthy problem in esports should be solved. So this is called a win-win situation. Okay. So actually, some previous studies show that this type of high-intensity intermittent exercise, so I mean about 80% of heart rate max, and for 30 seconds, and 1, 2, 3, so 8 sets. So this is totally about 50 minutes. So this type of exercise activates the brain regions, which is called DLPFC, those lateral prefrontal cortex, playing the executive function. So this part is activated by this type of exercise and enhances the executive functions. Okay, but the 15 minutes of exercise is also long, especially for before the playing esports. So do you know the Tokido, who is a Street Fighter professional player in Japan? Or so he was a world champion of the Street Fighter 5. So he ran. So he performed a knee-high dash for about 10 seconds before the contest. So I thought that a practical ultra short time would be effective for the esports performance. That's why I held the Valorant League of the 4 universities, and then they performed the knee-high dash before their match. So we get some esports arena and close to the university, and everyone performed the knee-high dash. So the floor, I thought floor will be broken. Yeah, but it was safety. So they performed the knee-high dash for 7 seconds, and they had a rest 20 seconds, and they repeated 3 times. So this is about 1 minute exercise. And we had a crossover experimental design, and we checked the heart rate, gaming stats, and some psychological effects. So as you can see, the heart rate is increased to about 140 or 50. So this is about 70 or 80% of heart rate max. Oh. And recovered to the resting level after 4 or 5 minutes. And this is heart rate levels during the esports games. So as you can see, the heart rate mean and the heart rate peak both were increased by the very short-term exercise. So previous study showed that individuals with higher cognitive ability showed the higher heart rate level during cognitive tasks. So this means the higher brain activity affect the sympathetic nervous system, and they get the higher heart rate levels. So this may promote this type of exercise promote brain activity during esports play. Okay, so this is a gaming performance stats. So as you can see that this is kill, but in Japan the kill is not so good word, so I said the number of hits per rounds. So this is an offensive parameter. So this is increased in the loser. So this is the number of defeats. So this means a death count. Yeah, and this is increased in the winner. So these data indicating that the pre-esports warm-up with the knee-high dash boosts offensive performance in weaker teams and enhances defensive capabilities in stronger team. So the phenomena, the phenotype is different, but actually positively affect to the team performance in each groups. So we take that in this experiment, the male university esports athletes participated, but we also have a session of the professional esports girls. So both showed the positive effects for the esports performance. So we should think that before esports match, we should have a exercise, warming up with a knee-high dash or ultra short duration of exercise, enhances esports team performance. And this is also effective for the office or classroom team performance. So I think this is interesting point for the of the esports science with exercise. Okay, so next is about the posture. So in the esports field, the bad posture is very big problem for the unhealthy effects. For example, dry eyes, headache, or some body and mind problems. That's why I checked the effect of posture using the height adjustable desks like this. So, and then the participants played with seated posture or standing postures. And then they performed the virtual football games for 3 hours. As you can see, the first 15 or 30 minutes, the shot accuracy is higher in the standing condition compared to the seated conditions. So this is under review, but I submitted to the preprint server. So please read it later. So my message is, why not try standing play to improve your esports performance? So next, about the nutritional strategy. So first, my propose is the protein drink enhances esports performance. So you know that before the esports playing, the participants intake the protein drink or apple juice. So as you can see, the cognitive speed and cognitive accuracy both are enhanced compared to the apple juice by the protein drinks. And then so I forgot to show the shot performance, but the protein also increased the shot accuracy. So So protein is degraded into the amino acids, and then amino acids increased in the blood. So, and the increased amino acid in the blood reached into the brain. And the brain can make a noradrenaline or dopamine, which are the excitatory neurotransmitters. So protein intake can activate the brain performance, including the esports playing. So my message again, so why not try drinking milk protein before your esports session? Okay, so next, next we checked the effect of the sparkling water without sugar. So sparkling water activates the temperature-sensitive trip channels on the throat and activates the brainstem and then prefrontal cortex. So I checked the effect of sparkling water compared with fresh water, still water. So as you can see, so interestingly, the carbonated water decreased the number of foul in the virtual soccer game. So we are thinking that the sparkling water promotes the fair play without inhibition of the esports performance. So please incorporate sparkling water into your regular esports training, or your office or your home. Yeah. Okay. So next, the final my suggestion is so how to overcome the online barrier. So in last session, I introduced the online play does not increase oxytocin segregation. So Shion, so could you help the our new apparatus? So if interested, please have our new apparatus. That, yeah, please. So how do you think? What is that? so do you feel something? Do you feel something? Yeah. So that's my heart rate. Yes. So that's my heart rate. Yeah. So I'm wearing the heart rate monitor now, and so we can sense my heart across the time and the spaces. So on the online play, we cannot communicate communicate well. Yes, that's my heart. Yeah, I'm very nervous now. Yeah, very quick. Yeah. Normally more. Yeah, my heart is more slowly, but I'm doing my best in talking now. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So if we sense the heart rate each other, so online play together with unknown foreigner. So offline play increases oxytocin levels, but online play is completely inhibited oxytocin levels. But this system is called BioShare, and this I applied the patents now. So yeah, I want you to use the worldwide. Yeah. So and then but this BioShare system rescue the oxytocin secretion during the online play, and then oxytocin percent change of the oxytocin is related with the social presence, the sense of social presence, and the enjoyment. So the body communication without language is very important to make a social bonding and a social presence. And then, so my business idea is so if we feel the heart rate of the Shohei Ohtani when watching the Major League Baseball from Japan, yeah, maybe we can more なんだexcite and enjoyable. And then, so if in the family, so we can feel the heart rate of the kids, and we have some spectating for their race or some sports. So if so, we can make a social bonding in the family to resolve the isolation. Okay, so this is established by the sports science and engineering collaboration in our university, and we had a chance to show this new technology in the Osaka Expo in last month. So yeah, I want to make some new evidence or some new apparatus to spread to use commonly for you all. Okay, so if you feel my heart rate, so maybe so before the feeling, maybe your psychological distance with me, opponent means me, is maybe 1 or 2, but maybe after feeling, you can change to the 3 or 4 or 7. Yeah, I hope the increase of the psychological distance by the bioshare technology. And also, how is the University of Tsukuba? Yeah, maybe it also increased. Yeah, I hopefully. Okay, so this is the heart of the esports way. So so this is not achieved by the only University of Tsukuba. So please communicate and collaborate. And I want to join the esports research network, and I look forward to meeting again next year. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much for your excellent presentation again. And then especially, yeah, he gave us a lot of information, especially on the esports and basically the scientific evidence. It's really clear for you to understand why the esports effectively, contribute to our, society as well. And then I want to have the announcements on for the online speaker as well. And I want the announcements for the international conference on the Esports Research Network. And then I will be the main organizer for the ERN conference in Japan, in the Tsukuba University. But I already decided that I want to use our facilities, but now I also have these demands from this conference center. So that's one, and I'm not undetermined. I'm not determined that which place will take place, but let's see, because we still have the 1 year. And then I will be, as I say, I will be the main organizer, and then at the same time, as always, Tobias will be next to me. So, and then I hope that you will join this event, and then the conference provision date will be 14 September to 16 September. And then afterwards, we will have there is not any decision yet, but there is the Asian Games, the esports event. So that's why, and I think that this time it will be nice because you can participate in Tokyo Game Show as well, and also at the same time in the Asian Game as well. So that's why please come to here in Tsukuba. This here in the Tsukuba University 30th anniversary hall. But as I said, I did not decide yet. So that's one, and I will announce again because of a lot of political issue. So that's one, and I try to make my best efforts. And then the host university will be us, the Institute of Humanities and Social Sciences, and because I will be the organizer, at the same time, UT Esports, I also created the research groups, it calls Esports and Gaming Research Group, and then at the same time, supporting organization is the Esports Research Network. So, and then I have all of the information. Please contact me if you want to know more, and then yeah, you can send me the email or you can connect with me by the LinkedIn. So I'm always in the LinkedIn, so that's why please let me know. Yeah, everyone surprised me that I'm always in the LinkedIn. So anyway, so thank you so much. And then I really glad to come here and then attending my public sessions because of the Tobias effort. And then all of the speakers come here, especially from the other country, because it's really far from your countries to come to Japan. So thank you so no, not yet. No, you were in the South Korea, so it's really near for you. But still, especially for the Tobias and the Rune and also the John, I know that in order to go to the Ohio, it's really far from, and then it's really tough for the jet lag as well. So thank you so much for coming to Japan. And then, finally, I want to express deep gratitude to the my team and the Arigato team. Thank you so much for dealing with everything. At the same time, Pocket Conference as well. If they are not here, absolutely sure that I cannot organize this event. As you see, there are a lot of technical issues, right? So, and thank you so much for your support. And again, there is also the student staff, and they have the one time to have the miking, at the same time, they also support us to, setting up a little bit here. So, and then my main purpose is to give the opportunity for the students to hear the international conference as well. So thank you so much for again, and then see you next year. Thank you.